I wanted to do a drum roll, but we only have one drumstick. I Love Kanji is out today, people. Yay! Yay! Yorokobo! Today's the day. The sun is shining. The tank is clean. The tank is clean. Have you guys seen Finding Nemo? Okay. I Love Kanji is out today, and we're going to celebrate by studying some more N2 level kanji. How are we doing today, folks? Is everybody eating breakfast, eating dinner? Is work starting, work over, lunch break? My phone's a little slow today. Oh, there we go. Cool, cool, cool. Welcome to the party. We over here at日本語の森we're very excited today. Yuka Sensei was telling me how she wanted to see all the books, like she wanted to see if they were lined up in the bookstore yet. How's everybody doing? I'm curious what N level people are. Are people like N3 aiming for N2, already N2, N1, N4 or 5, but just chilling? I mean, the good thing about these videos is that, you know, just learning the concept of like breaking the kanji down can be, I think, helpful for any level. Yes, they are in the same family. We have both of them here. Ta-da! I guess let's get started. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way. If you want to check out the book, there's a link in the description, and we're going to post one in the chat. It's available on Amazon today. So if you buy it today, maybe it'll come tomorrow or the next day. Oh. I'm very excited. I want a copy for myself. I don't know if we like get free copies because we made the book, but I want it. Ohayou gozaimasu. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so here we have blame, semeru, and then the onyomi is seki, right? So se, semeru, to blame, to sort of like, I think of it sort of like, you know, it's sort of like you're cornering in on somebody, you're like, it's your fault, you know? I don't know why in my own head I have this imagery related to like semi, even though it's probably, I don't know, it's probably not similar, but I think of it, it's like you're closing in on somebody, you're cornering them, you're like, it's all your fault. So we have blame, and then we have semeru, right, to blame, and then sekirin, responsibility. And then our memorization technique for this one, sorry, let me turn the page, here we go, is, okay, I blame him for making money doing bad things. So here we have money, right? Because, you know, this means like, you know, like a clam or shell or like a mussel, you know, like these babies. But these shells used to be used as money. So this is money. And then this character means bad. So that's why we get, I blame him for making money doing bad things. All right, next up. Okay, here we have debt, right? You can see our little friend blame is in there. No kunyomi, and then our onyomi is sai. It shows up here in saimu, debt. And so here we have, right, blame and person. So we can say, where did my page go? Here we go. I blame that person for me being in debt. It's his fault. I didn't do it, he took my money. I blame that person for me being in debt. Okay, next up. Okay. Here we have this character that means equal. It shows up here in byodo, right? We saw that before with this character which is flat. So we have flat and equal. So we get like equality, right? Like equality between people, for example. And then so kunyomi is hitoshi. So hito and then shi, okurigana. And then the onyomi is to. And then some other examples. So we have hitoshi, so that's equal or the same, right? Like this is the same as this. 1 equals 1, therefore math. And then we have doto, again, same or equivalent. And then again, byodo. And our memorization technique for this one, we take this top part, which is bamboo, right? It's like that. So we get our top part, that's bamboo. And then we have this, which is a temple, right? Like a Buddhist temple. So we got bamboo and a temple and equal. So we could say, at the temple in the bamboo forest, everyone is equal. So here's our nice peaceful temple. I don't know why it looks like a weird house, but don't worry about it. Here's the bamboo forest. At the temple in the bamboo forest, everyone is equal. Like shaking hands. I don't know. There's a lady and a man, for example. Yay. Okay. Next up. おはようございます。こんにちは。Oh, do we? Hold on. 変更できるかな？何それ？これなんか、なんか他の日本語のストリームからなんか視聴者が入ってくるみたいな設定ある？そういうなんかすいません。Okay, let's continue while we work some stuff out behind the scenes. Okay, so here we have plant. Kunyomi ueru, right? Ueru. And then onyomi shoku, like shokubutsu, plants. And then here we have ueru again, and then ueki. So this is a tree that like a person planted or that they will plant. Basically, it's like rather than a tree that just sprung up in the forest from like, you know, a fallen acorn, this is a tree that we were like, yes, let's put that in the ground. Oh, studio setting moderation. ちょっと見ていい？あ、やった？やってくれる？ Okay, やってくれるみたい。and the 覚え方 is yes, 植物が植える。Okay. Plant the tree straight into the ground. So here we have our tree, right? This is our tree. And then because he's on the left side here, he just got a little thinner. And then this is the kanji, for example, naoru or masugu. So because of that meaning of like masugu or sunao, we can have this meaning of straight. Like, for example, like straight down. So we could say, we plant the tree straight into the ground. Plant the tree straight into the ground. Tsugi. Okay. Next up we have dry, right? Like kanso suru, right? You dry something out, like your clothing, for example. Kansoki, a dryer, you know, a drying machine. No kunyomi, and the onyomi is so, right? We see it here in so. And then, of course, since we're drying things, here we have that character for fire, right? Because fire creates heat, which makes things dry. So we get our fire. And then here we have this character, which is used, for example, like in like shohin, which essentially the meaning is goods, right? It's like, for example, goods lined up in a store for sale. And then here, again, is our little tree, right? So we have fire, goods, and a tree. So we get, I dry my goods on a wood fire, right? So from our tree, we get wood, because trees are made of wood. And we want to dry our goods on a wood fire, right? Like maybe we're making some, I don't know, umeboshi. And we're like, let's speed this process up with a wooden fire. Get the wood here, some smoke and heat going. Kona kanji. Okay. Ding. Next up. Okay. Da, da, da. I'm pressing them with my hands. Okay, tsuku, right? To rescue or to save. Kunyomi tsuku, tsuku, and then onyomi kyu. Here we have tsuku again, to rescue, to save, and then kyumei. So this is life-saving. So like life-saving medical care, for example. Because this here is life. So you have life and save and get life-saving. So here we have the character motomeru, which means to seek. Boop, boop, boo. Which means to seek. And the imagery is sort of like, for example, like grasping something in your hand. Like, for example, if you were trying to grasp a bird in your hand, like imagine like there's a little bird here, I guess, like let's make this the bird's beak and there's its head. And these are like its wings, its feathers. And you just kind of, you hold on to it. Here's your hand. There's the bird. And then this is another character for hand. So we're going to say, I seek for survivors and rescue them with my hands. There's some room. So we have seek and hands and rescue. So I seek for survivors and rescue them with my hands. Okay. Seek from motomeru. Okay. Okay. 説明していい。日本語で説明する？なんか全部利用しましょうか。Okay. Okay, next we have poem, 詩, right? Poem とか歌みたい。Right, okay, so no kunyomi and the onyomi shi shows up here in the word poem. A poem is something that you speak, right? It's something you say. So you have this here, iu, to say. And then here again, we have temple. Right? Otera. So we're going to say, boo, boo, boo. I spoke lines from a poem at the temple. Otera de shio iu. I spoke lines from a poem at the temple. Sorry, this is temple. Spoke lines from a poem at the temple. Otera de shio iu. Okay, next up. This character means center. No kunyomi, and the onyomi is o. And then here it shows up in the word central, chuo, right? We have like middle, in between, and center. So we get central, right? If here's the area, here it's right in the middle, central. And our shape for this one, so if we look at just this bit, we get the character for big, oki, big. And then here, we can just put a mouth on top of it, right? Kuchi. So we have oki, kuchi. Big, mouth, center. So we're going to say, I put a big piece of chocolate in the center of my mouth. Kuchi no chuo ni oki na choko ireru. I put a big piece of chocolate in the center of my mouth. Okay. Here we have kanji, which means supplement, right? So it's like, for example, like let's say I want to have a picnic and I've got a blanket, but I need some food. And this guy is like, oh, I will supplement the supplies you already have by giving you some food, right? So it's like adding on something that's needed, right? It's giving me something that I lack. Supplement, right? And then here the kunyomi is oginao, right? Ogina, u. And then the onyomi is ho. And so here we have koho, a candidate, right? Like a candidate for presidency or something. And then hojo suru, to provide assistance, right? So it's helping or like giving support for something that lacks it. Like for example, this word is surprisingly used in the word for training wheels, hojorin. It's wheels on a bike that provide assistance so you don't fall, right? It's those tiny wheels that go on the sides to help you keep your balance. And the way that we can remember this is, we look at this character, which is clothes, right? We learned that it was like the collar of a piece of clothing that goes over your body. And this we'll just simplify into thinking of like a rice field, right? So let's just call this guy rice field and clothes. So we have rice field, clothes, and supplement. So we're going to say, I keep a supply of clothes in the rice field, right? Here I'm in the rice field. And then here I am. Da-da-da. And then here's like a box of clothes, you know, because maybe it rained and I was like, oh no, I need a new jacket. I just take it out of my supply. I keep a supply of clothes in the rice field. Okay. Next we have land, right? Like the opposite of sea, dry land. Umi janakute riku. The kunyomi, don't worry about it, and the onyomi is riku. And then here we have riku jo, right? On land, because jo is to be on top of something, right? Like nani nani no ue. So we are on land. Yay. Here we have the character for mountain. Mountain, yama. And then here, this means mound. For example, like a mound of land, like that, right? Like here's all this dirt piled up. Bo, bo, bo. And we could say, land is covered with mountains and mounds of dirt. Land is covered with mountains and mounds of dirt, right? And dirt is in this mound, right? A mound made of dirt. Okay. Knitting. Next up, This character means child. No kunyomi and the onyomi is do, which does appear in jido, another word for child, like a child, a dependent, somebody that is taken care of. And our pieces here are to stand, tatsu, and this character, which means hometown, furusato. So we have stand, hometown, furusato. Stand, hometown, child. So we could say a child, no, here, we'll give him like a little baseball cap. A child stands in his hometown. A child stands in his hometown. And here's his hometown. Child stands in his hometown. Okay, next up we have admire or yearn, right? Akogareru. I wish I could be like Yuka sensei. So we have the characters for heart, right? Heart, with a little squished up heart, kokoro. And again, what we just saw, child. The child standing in his hometown. So we have child, heart, and admire or yearn. Admire, yearn. So let's say, children admire people with good hearts. So children admire people with good hearts. Akogare no hito. Children admire people with good hearts. Okay, next. Furu, shake, 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 shake. Kunyomi, furu, to shake. Onyomi, nash. And then we get furimuku, to turn around. Like in a horror movie, it's like the monster's creeping up behind you and you're like, da-da, da-da-da. And then miburi. So this is a gesture. So it's like, So here we have the characters for hand, te, and dragon, like we learned before. So we could say, shake hands with the dragon. Here I am. Here's the dragon. His hand is too short. Let me make my hand longer. I don't know, we'll give him a little tail. Here's hand. Dragon. Right? Shake hands with the dragon. Next. Okay, next we have dance. Does anybody like to dance? Is anybody good at dancing? I can do tap dance, but nothing else. Okay. Odoru, right? Dancing. Yeah. Sorry, this is like that. Okay. Bo, bo, bo. No onyomi, and again, odoru. So let's break this up into pieces. We get our feet, because we dance with our happy, happy feet, just like the little penguins in that movie. Here is a hat. Here's my hat. And then here, this character means to use. Mochi iru. It means to use something. Like, you might recognize it more as like yo, like senyo, or, yoji. But basically it means use. Or what is its use, its purpose. So we have use, feet or foot or legs, whatever you prefer, and a hat. Feet, hat, use, and dance. So let's say I use my feet and my hat to dance. Da 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 da, hey ya cha cha cha, ra da 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 pa. Next up. Okay. Okay, next we have authority, right? Like, I have the authority to decide what time the lab starts. I don't. But that's an example. So we have authority, and then we have kunyomi, no. And the onyomi is ken, like kenri, right? The right to do something. And then here it shows up in ketteiken, right? Decision-making authority. So it's I have the authority to make a decision, right? Because this is a decision and this is authority. Decision plus authority, decision, the authority to make a decision. Boop, boop. And then here we have tree, ki. Here we have bird. We learned this before as bird, right? Here's our little birds, right? Imagine like this is its beak and this is like its little tuft of hair, and this is its feathers. It's kind of scary, but don't worry. It looks like a horse. Wait. Okay, it's a bird. Don't worry about it. It's a bird. And then here is the character for noon, right? So like if we look at this, hold on. Okay. It's kind of swooping off to the side, but that's noon, right? Like the afternoon. Or the morning, you know, gozen, gogo. So we have bird, noon, tree, authority. Bird, noon, tree, authority. So let's say the birds have authority over the tree at noon. That's a clock. The birds, so scary. The birds have authority over the tree at noon. These are birds, not fruit. The birds have authority over the tree at noon. It's their time to shine. They get to sit in the tree. Okay. Next up we have bright. And this no kunyomi and the onyomi is sho, like Showa, right? So the Showa era of Japan, you know, like that. I want to say that's around like the 1980s in, I don't know, what do you call it, Gregorian time? You know, like often used in the West calendar time, but now used in many, many places around the world. So here we have, what do we have here? What did I call it? So this can mean day, sun, and then it's also the character used in Nihon, right? Japan, Nihongo, Japanese language. But in this case, we're going to remember it as day. And then this we learned before. This is the character for eat or wearing clothes. It's basically a polite way of saying, you know, like meshiagaru, for example. So here we're going to say eat. So we got bright, day, eat. We're going to say, eating yummy food brightens my day. Eating yummy food brightens my day. Or it makes my day bright. Eating yummy food makes my day bright, for example. Okay. Diddy. Next up. Okay. So this character means to understand or to clarify something. So it's sort of like making distinctions between things. It's being like, this is this way and this is that way. Or like, this is in this group and this is in that group. And as we often see with several different kanji that have this association, a blade is included, an element of breaking things apart, right? Because the way to understand things is to break them down, right? We say, okay, well, you know, this kanji is made of this part, and so it has that meaning, you know? And it works in a lot, you know, in a lot of different ways when it comes to like logical thinking, but essentially it has that meaning of splitting things up to understand them better, to make them more clear. So here we have our blade, right? It's like the blade of a katana, right? Like here's the katana, here's the handle, blade. And then this character means half, right? we have half and blade and understand. Half, blade, understand gives us, I split things in half with a blade so they're easier to understand. Here's my blade. He's like, yeah, I got it. I split things in half with a blade so they're easy to understand. No kunyomi, and the onyomi is han or ban, shows up here in to decide, han dan, right? It's like we're saying this way or that way, han dan. He han, this is to criticize. You're saying like, oh, is this good or bad? It's bad. And then hyoban, so this is the reputation of a place, right? So it's like, how do people evaluate and decide whether something is good, right? It's its reputation. I cut things in half with a blade to make them easy to understand. All right, next up. Okay, so this character means rich. And as with English as well, rich also has an association with abundance, right? Like an abundance of money, lots and lots of money, or lots and lots of crops, right? So here we have kunyomi tomu, right? So tomu, to have an abundance, right? To have lots of things, to have lots of one thing, like money. And then onyomi fu, here we have hofuna, rich or abundant, like abundant, rich in experience, for example. And then hinpu gives us wealth and poverty, because this is poverty, being poor, not having things, and this is having a lot of things. Wealth, rich, right? Poverty and wealth, poor and rich. Oh, and our oboekata, the way we memorize, is we take our rice field, and we have our mouth, kuchi, mouth, and we have the character for one, ichi, one, this here too, rice field, and we have our house, right? Because it's like a roof over your head, that's your house. So we got rice field, mouth, one, house, and rich. So let's say, bloop, I use my riches, you know, like here's all my monies. I use my riches to buy one house and a rice field to fill my mouth. And then here's me eating rice. Or, you know, you eating rice. You know, dream big. Maybe you could have your own rice field and fill your mouth with rice. I use my riches to buy one house and a rice field to fill my mouth. Go on. Oishii. Okay. Yes, you can also do it ichinichiju. We actually have some oboekatas that use, sorry, I'm thinking of this actually. Never mind, I'm thinking of this. Oh, like do the live ichinichiju? I need more materials, but I'd be happy to. What I would really love to do is do a live stream of like talking about like doing like Japanese like games on live, you know, like talking about the translations and like how it's different in the English and Japanese or something. Let me know if that's something people are interested in. I'm curious to know. Or, you know, maybe we might be able to talk about manga or something too. I think that would be fun. Anyway, where were we? Boop, boo, boo. Okay, observe, right? To see the state of things. How are things? Things are good, hopefully. So we're observing. And then the kunyomi, nash, and then the onyomi is ko. It shows up here in kiko, the climate, right? The state of how things are, like the state of the environment, for example, or the state of, you know, the economy. And then koho, a candidate that we saw before. Because, you know, maybe like candidates observe and see how the state of politics are going, and then they enter the field and be like, this is what I can offer you all. So let's break this up into pieces. We got our person, right? Person, hito. We've got our arrow, ya, right? Arrow. We have this little straight down line, which we could think of like, you know, maybe like a rod, you know, like it's just like a straight stick that goes in the ground, just like a stick, a rod, stick or a rod. And then this looks like the katakana yu, right? Yu. So we have person, arrow, rod, yu, and observe. So let's say I observed as a person named you shot an arrow at a rod, right? So here's us observing. We're like, oh, excellent. Great work with that arrow. I watch as a person named you, here's you, shoots an arrow at a rod. I observe as a person named you shoots an arrow at a rod. Observe. Okay. Oh yeah, Valentine's Day Cupid shooting arrows. Dee-dee. It's like, here's us, the public of students studying Japanese. Here's the Nihongo / Cupid gods. And then here's an arrow of love. And then the first thing we see is kanji. So we all love kanji. Yay, kanji. We love you. You're so misunderstood, kanji. We learned to love you. We can make this work. Okay, here we have agree, like sansei, right? Sansei suru, to agree. No kunyomi, and the onyomi is san. Here we have these characters up here, which are like the character for husband, otto, right? Husband. And since there's two of them, let's just say two husbands. So we got two husbands, and we got money, right? We saw this before. We got our two husbands, we got our money, and we're going to agree on something. So let's say the two husbands agree to share their money. The two husbands agree to share their money. Okay, let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, we still got some time. This character means award. I think it also has a meaning of like praise. Yes, I didn't write that one, but yes. So award or praise. Like, yes, you did so good. Or yes, Kanji, you're so beautiful. We love you forever. Mwah. You know? Or like literally getting an award for being the best way to write. The best written language character is Kanji. Yay! And then like there, like the Roman alphabet is like, and then like the Arabic number system is like, are you kidding me? Everybody uses me. Anyway, enough rambling. This is award. The onyomi is sho. It comes up here in kansho suru, like to appreciate art. So it's basically like, it's another way of saying like, oh, I'm gonna see a movie. It's essentially like you are watching and praising. You're like, oh, art is so great. Essentially, it's just another way of saying that you're observing art, you know, like watching a movie, for example. And then here is to receive an award, right? Because so it's jusho suru, and this is the character for ukeru, to receive. So we're receiving an award. Now let's break this up. Here at the top, we have these little symbols. And I think back in the day, they used to look something more like little fires, like like little fires hanging out together, and then they got simplified. So we'd like to think of them like 3 lights, right? It's like 3 shining little lights at the top. So we have 3 lights. We have, again, we have our roof, which makes our house. So we have 3 lights and a house. And then we got a mouth, kuchi, we got a mouth. And we got our money, money. So we got money, roof of our house. So money, house, mouth, 3 lights, and award. So let's say, I was awarded money and 3 lights for having the biggest mouth in the house. I was awarded money and 3 lights for having the biggest mouth in the house. Right? Like maybe you had a contest to see who could fit the most cookies in their mouth. And they were like, whoever eats the most cookies, whoever can fill their mouth with whoever comes in with a mouthful of clams gets a free drink. Like that, right? Whoever fills their mouth with cookies gets 3 lamps and an award, and award money. I was awarded 3 lights and money for having the biggest mouth in the house. So the difference between I love kanji and oishii kanji is that first of all, I love kanji is all in English. So we have the meanings of kanji in English, right? The meanings of individual kanji, all written in English. We have the readings, so the kunyomi and the onyomi, all of the readings listed along with it. And then all of the bushu and sukuri are also written in English. And because of that, a lot of the oboekatas, the way to memorize, have been rewritten, like completely. And the illustrations have changed as well. So yeah, so basically with the insertion of English, we tried to make basically it's streamlined so that the memorization is easier to understand for people reading in English and using English, because back in oishii kanji, the way that it worked was rather than remembering the meaning of the kanji itself, you would just remember like the kunyomi and the onyomi. And it's like, the kunyomi is generally like the meaning because it's Japanese, right? It's the Japanese reading, it's the Japanese meaning, but it's not, especially for an English speaker or a non-native Japanese speaker, it's not exactly one-to-one. You don't like see the kunyomi of something and be like, that means blah, 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 as opposed to like how a Japanese person might view it and be like, oh, I learned that this means this, so of course this means this, So we made it a lot easier for English speakers, I think, by putting the meaning right in there and then rewriting all of the memorization techniques to include the meaning. So that way, when you see the kanji then used in vocabulary, it's sort of like, aha, so that's why it's that way. Or at least that's the way I think of it. Especially when it comes to the naritachi, or the way that kanji are first made, like we may see with like other more simplified kanji, like what do we have here? Like bone, like we saw where it was like the bone of a skeleton and meat on a bone, like flesh on a bone. When you break the kanji down and know the meanings in English of all the pieces and the kanji itself, it's just easier to understand, I think, from the perspective of somebody who is a native English speaker studying Japanese. So yeah, so that's the main difference, I would say, is everything's in English. So lots of the memorization techniques have changed and the images have changed. And we basically, we also like inserted new kanji or cut different kanji depending on how frequently they appear on the JLPT in recent years to try to make it more streamlined and useful. Yeah, there's just a lot of more helpful information inserted, especially the organization has also been redone in English. So, for example, all the categories, so it's categorized into things like action shapes or hand shapes or thing shapes, color shapes, right? So kanji that have, so symbols that have similar associations, meanings you can memorize all in one go. Yeah. Okay, next up, where were we? Right, let's move on to the next. Okay, this character means eternal, right? Like forever, a really long time. No kunyomi and the onyomi is a, right? Like an or a kyuna, right? Permanently, right? It's not changing. It's going to continue this way for a long, long time. And the oboekata for this one, the way to memorize, is actually taken from the naritachi, which is that this section was originally meant to represent a flowing body of water, right? So if you can kind of imagine it, like here's flowing water. And then what's happening is that the water is flowing from multiple rivers into one long river. So like, let's say like this is a separate river and like this is a separate river, but then it all flows into this big one. And the meaning of that is then that like, because the river has all these little like branch off and rejoining points, it basically goes on forever, right? It's a river that goes on forever because it's connected to a bunch of tiny rivers, right? The water flows forever. No problem. Thank you for coming. Yeah, and so that's the memorization technique for this one, right? Forever because it's flowing water. It's a river that goes on forever. Okay, next up we have brush, like a paintbrush. We talked a bit about this one before, but it's basically like, like a paintbrush that you hold like this. And if we look at this, right, we have bamboo here again. Bamboo, take. Bamboo is used to make things like paper, right? So let's say you're writing on paper, and then here's your brush. Let's call this tiny bottom bit your brush. And then this bit, let's call this your hand, right? Because you got like your little fingers. It's like a 3-fingered hand. You hold the brush in your hand and write on the bamboo paper. La, 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 I'm writing, I'm drawing a beautiful picture, right? So you hold the brush in your hand and write on the bamboo paper. La, la, la. So that's our memorization. And then the kunyomi is fude, here, fude, brush. The onyomi is hitsu, which shows up, for example, in enpitsu, pencil. And then then we have here, we have hisha, right? So this is hitsu. And so when su is here, it becomes that, and it goes in front of another word, it becomes that teeny tiny baby sometimes, right? Hisha, author, right? The person who wrote a text. This one appears on the JLPT a lot because whenever you get into the reading section, it'll be like, なんかこの選択肢の中から一番筆者と合うものを選んでくださいとか. This haunts my nightmares. Just kidding, but like, yes, it shows up a lot. It means author. The person who wrote the thing, right? And then enpitsu, right, pencil, and then hikishiken, a written exam, right? So rather than like having choices 1, 2, 3 or ABC, this is an exam where you'd have to write an essay, right? They'd be like, please write the reasons that you think the War of 1812 happened, That's like such a specific America thing, but yeah. Yes, I believe that's all the information for this one. Let's go to the next. Okay. This character means nod, right? Like, that's right. Which is why then here we get to affirm, to say, yes, that's correct. Koutei suru, to affirm. No kunyomi and the onyomi is ko, koutei suru. And here we have the characters for stop, right? Tomaru, stop, and flesh, like miku, for example. Flesh, meat, flesh, human meat or animal meat. So let's say, when I nod, the flesh on my head won't stop jiggling, right? Like for example, like you're like head banging, you're like head nodding, and your cheeks are kind of like, when I nod, the flesh on my face won't stop jiggling. Is my duck jiggling? Not really. He's like falling out. Oh my god. Don't worry about it. He's fine. He's fine. Okay. Yes, nod. Next up. Hola. Thank you for coming. Duck isn't helping. Duck, work with me here. Okay, 11:52. We still got some time. Let's get going. Okay. Root, right? Like the roots of a tree. Why am I drawing a person? Like the roots of a tree. Or like the root of a problem, right? It's the root. It's the most original point where all the things are like, ding. Right? So we have our roots and branch out from there. So we got root. Kunyomi is ne. Where do we have it? Here we have nemoto and yane, right? So nemoto, the root of something. And then yane, this is supposed to say roof. Or I believe it's supposed to say roof. What did I write here? Yes, roof. So this is roof, like that goes over a house, right? And our onyomi is konki, perseverance, right? Like, I'm not gonna give up. Even though it's hard, I'm gonna keep going, right? You know, you like dig into your roots and you're like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying right here. So we have tree. And I like to think of this as a way of being the character good, right? Yoi. So it's like good, except it doesn't have this little thing on the top, right? So ki, ne, right? So tree, good, root. So we could say a good tree has strong roots. Yep, that's a good tree. A good tree has strong roots. Tree, good, root. Okay, this character means former, like, you know, like the former Soviet Union or the former capital of Japan, right? It's something that was, and now it's changed. It's something different now. So no kunyomi, and the onyomi is Q, right? Like Q nantoka. So you put whatever goes here, like Q higashi Deutsch. So like former, formerly known as West Germany, for example. And then kyudai, this means like the old, you know, something, like the old way of doing things. Or, you know, like traditionally things were done this way, but now it's different. You know, like traditionally women would stay in the home and raise the children or whatever. And it's like, well, now it's not that way. It's different now, you know? So that's why we have former. And we break this into two pieces, right? We have our sun, and we have, I guess I'll just call this a rod again. So we could say, this rod marks the former capital of Japan, right? Nihon, Japan. This rod marks the former capital of Japan, right? And just imagine like in Kyoto, and there's a rod, and we're like, there it is, the former capital of Japan, right where that rod is. Okay, and then next we have child. It shows up in these words. So this is like child, right? Young child, raising a child, right? So ikuji, child rearing, right? And the kunyomi is ji. So ikuji, child rearing, jido, child, yoji, toddler, right? A young child is a toddler. And so here again, so we have that character that we just learned, former. And then we have this, which I like to think symbolizes feet or legs. So we have legs, former child. So the former child grew to have long legs, right? Once I was a child and my legs were tiny, and then I grew, and now my legs are long. The former child grew to have long legs. Okay. Create. Let me see, are we on time? Okay. Create, right? Tsukuru. The same as this guy. And the difference is that this one is used for like big things. You know, it's like rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna make a Valentine, it's like I'm gonna make a boat, you know, I'm gonna make a house, you know. It's more for bigger things. So tsukuru, right? With that same meaning. And then onyomi is zo. Here we have, right? Tsukuru, to make something big. And then souzo tekina. So this is something creative, right? And the word to create is in there. This is like Genesis, creation. And then this is for making it a, like nakiyoshi, a descriptive word. Souzo tekina, a creative something. And then here we have ni tsukuri suru. So this is to pack, right? It's like ni from nimotsu, and we're making it. So we are creating luggage by packing things together. To pack. And then mokuzo. So this is something that is built out of wood, right? Because here we have moku, that's for wood or tree. And this is to create, so it's something that was created out of wood, mokuzo. And then seizo suru is to manufacture, right? It's like this is manufacturing and this is creating, so we're manufacturing things, right? We're creating things, but we're making like a lot of them and probably like in a factory. It's that kind of imagery. Okay, next up. Let's see, can I fit it in? I still have some kanji left. Ah. Okay, we talked a bit about this one before, but this is seek, motomeru, right? It's to seek something out. It's to look for something or to ask for something. Be like, I need this, please. And then Q is our onyomi. So we have motomeru, seek, kyujin, a job listing or like help wanted, right? It's we're seeking a person. Seikyu suru, to request, right? It's like you're making an official request, like being like, please, I need this thing, and then maybe you'll get it. And then tsuikyu suru, to pursue. So this is chasing, and this is seeking. So you're like, I gotta chase my dreams, right? And then yokyu suru, to demand. You'd be like, this is important, I need it, give it to me, you know? Because this is necessary or important, and then this is to seek or ask for. So it's like, I need it. And then this is yokyu suru, to desire. So it's like, I want this thing, right? This form of desire is a little different from like, what would it be? Yobo, what would it be? Like the one that uses bo, right? The one that's like this. Because this has more of the meaning of like, I desire the things that are more necessary for me. Like I desire water. Like I have, like as a human or as a living creature, I have a desire for water and food, right? It's like that kind of thing. Okay, we're about to wrap it up here. How many do I have left? There was only a handful. There was a handful left, but you know, maybe I'll just go on a little longer and finish. Doshio. Oh yeah. I always like if I were to confuse, I would confuse Cody and eternity. I would confuse ice and eternity because they're very similar. But after I started like looking at the way the characters that go in them, it gets easier. Okay, let's hyperspeed and try to do a couple more. Okay, so here we have percent or ratio, no kunyomi, and the onyomi is sotsu or ritsu. Here we have hikiru. So this is what the kunyomi would be, or no. Well, I believe this is what the kunyomi would be, perhaps, but there's no need to memorize it, so don't worry about it. It means to lead. Kei sotsuna, careless, right? It's like karui. So it's like you're doing something carelessly, right? Like you're like, oh, I don't really care, I'll just do whatever. Shichoritsu, this is viewership. So the percentage or ratio of people that watched, listened to something. Efficiency, koritsu, right? So the like rate at which something is effective, it's efficiency. And this is the rate at which something is likely to happen. Kakuritsu, probability. And then the way that we can remember this is, here we have our character for hat. Hat. Is it a green screen? No, it's one of those teaching boards. It's pretty cool. When I was in like middle school or something, or maybe it was high school, one of my teachers had this, and it's like all the kids would want to go up and like draw on it because it was fun. And now I get to draw on it almost every day. It's kind of fun. Okay, so we have our hat. We have our thread. And we have the number 10. So let's say this hat is 10% thread. This hat is 10% thread. Okay, next up. So this means edge or near. For example, like the edge, the periphery of something. Kunyomi is atari, right? Like kono atari ni blah 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 blah. Like around this area, there's something. And then the onyomi is hen. So here again, atari, the area, and then shu hen is the periphery. So around the sides, right? Because shu or mawari means around, and this is the edge. So we have the edge that's around, that's our periphery. And then we have mizube. So this is water side, right? At the edge of the water side, the waterfront. And then here we have blade, right? Katana, and path. Blade and path. That says plath. Blade, path, and edge. So we could say, I drag my blade along the path to mark the edge of my territory. So here I am, here's my blade. And here I'm like making a sea bear circle around myself. Right? And here's our path. I drag my blade along the path to draw the edge of my territory. Okay. Okay. Here this character means a faction or a party, like a group of people that are all thinking the same thing or like want to do the same thing. No kunyomi. Onyomi is to. Here we have it in yato, the non-ruling political party. So it's like if this is the top party, this is the party that's like, oh, we disagree with you. Rah. And then akuto, this is a villain, somebody who's doing bad stuff. So here we have 3 lights. Again, we have our roof, which gives us our house. And we have our older brother, ani, oni-san, older brother. So we could say, my older brother leads the 3 lights party in the House of Representatives. Like the House of Congress or whatever. It's where the people decide the laws. So my older brother leads the 3 lights party in the House of Congress, for example. Okay, like 4 more. Okay, this means ice, right? It looks a bit similar to eternity, except let's look exactly at how they're different just so we can have a comparison. Right, so eternity is like this. Eternity is like this, and then this is ice. So eternity would have this thing here and this thing on the top, but this one has this thing here. And this actually is important to helping us with the meaning because this is actually supposed to be that same cold meaning, right? So this came from being those cold icicles. So we know this is cold or freezing, icicles. And then this is supposed to be a flowing river. So we have a flowing river and cold ice to get ice, right? So we freeze the river, it becomes ice, like for ice skating or something. So again, kori is our kunyomi, ice, and then hyo is our onomi, hyo kaisuru, to clear up doubts, for example. And then hyozan, an iceberg, right? A mountain of ice. Seihyoki, an ice maker or an ice machine. Okay, next up we have young or immature, right? It's like a very teeny tiny person or a very teeny tiny plant. It is not yet fully grown. The kunyomi is osanai, right? It's a very young kid, like the toddler image, like really tiny, maybe can speak a little, maybe can walk, but it's very young. The onyomi is yo, right? We have osanai, young, immature, and then here it is again in yoji, toddler. So here we have thread, again, thread, and power chikara or strength, power or strength, and young. So let's say young cotton makes strong thread. Young, you know, cotton that's used to make thread, that plant. So we'll say young cotton makes strong thread. Yeah. And then here we have large, right? No kunyomi and the onyomi is kyo, like kyodaina, huge, or kyojin, a titan or a giant. I put that one in just for you manga fans. Right? So it's like a giant person. It's a titan. It's a giant. A really big, so it's like big, big, huge. And the imagery of this one is that it's supposed to be a ruler with a handle. So like this is measuring in like meters or feet or whatever you want to call it. And this is a handle that you use. So you'll be like, oh, I'm going to measure this. Oh, it's huge. It's large. It's the whole length of a ruler, right? It takes up the whole ruler, so it's large. It's big. And then this should be our last one. Here, this character means abundant, right? We saw it together here with riches to mean rich or abundant. So this is our abundant piece. The kunyomi is yutaka, and the onyomi is ho. So we have yutakana, rich or abundant, hosaku, an abundant harvest, right? Because the plants that we made, there's lots of them, so it's an abundant harvest. And then hofuna, again, rich, abundant. And so let's break this up into two pieces. We have this magaru or mageru, that's bending, right? To bend, like bend. And then here is bean, right? Mame, bean. So let's say, I bend to pick up my abundant harvest of beans. I bend to pick up my abundant harvest of beans. All right, now that's all the kanji we had for you today. I hope you had a good time. Hope you learned a lot. I hope you'll check out this book. We worked hard on it. We tried to make it like as streamlined and easy to understand as possible. We hope it'll make it easy for you to study. We hope it's entertaining. I particularly like the little pictures in here and the memorization techniques. And there's also, there's like yomikata practice, so you could try to memorize those. And yeah, I hope you check it out. It's on Amazon. We got a link in the chat in the description. Yeah, I'll see you, next time with another live probably, or another video. Did you check out our video? That was very fun to record. I hope you see it. All right, goodbye.